So welcome. Here we are in the middle of our series, our Fall Faith series. And we've been dealing with the interesting topic of death. You wouldn't think. Death. And we have been using the book, The Afterlife of Billy Fingers, to inspire us to have conversations, to question, what do we believe? To ask, what do you believe? Can we change that? What is death? What meaning do we make out of death and dying? Because as human beings, what are we? Meaning-making machines. Everything has a meaning. And the reason that we do this work is so that we can have an amazing, full life filled with gusto. That's why we do this work. And as I was working through this book, something kept coming up to me. Oh, this is like a parable. Oh, this is like a parable. And I went, wow, yeah, really, it is. And what it came up for me was the parable of the Good Samaritan. Have any of you heard of that? Remember what that is? Okay. Now, you might be thinking, Rev Sherrie, I know you can stretch things and kind of bring them together, but really, the Good Samaritan, Afterlife of Billy Fingers, not seeing the connection. Well, the connection is that I see this as a modern-day version of the Good Samaritan. What do we know about the story of the Good Samaritan? It is said that Jesus told this story when he was challenged about who is my neighbor. And he told this parable. And the parable was that this gentleman was walking from Jerusalem to Jericho. And on his way, he got attacked. He was robbed, beaten, stripped of clothing, left on the side of the road, dying. And then a priest comes by, sees his broken body there, crosses the street on the other side, and continues on. Then Jesus says, a Levite comes, sees this broken being, once again crosses the street, goes on the other side. And then, who comes? The Samaritan. The Samaritan comes, sees this broken being, has compassion in his heart, helps him, puts him on his animal, takes him to a nearby inn, gives the innkeeper money to take care of this person, and reminds him that when he travels back this way, he'll give him whatever additional money he may have spent in the care of this person. How is that equivalent in any stretch to Billy Fingers? Well, in that society in Jerusalem during Jesus' time, what were the Samaritans like in that culture, in that society? Does anyone know? Yeah, Sharon. They were despised. They were kind of seen as the scourge of society. Yes, they had a concept of Judaism, but they were not strict in following the Mosaic laws. And they had some paganism going on over there as well. So they were really frowned upon, to the extent that when people were traveling and had to go through their city, they would cross the River Jordan, all the way passing the city, and then cross back the River Jordan so that they wouldn't have to engage with any Samaritans. In our culture now, who do we look at as the scourge of society? Homeless, who else? Alcoholics, drug addicts, right? Those are who we see as the scourge of society. Society has deemed those people to be the scourge. Just as a Samaritan. Interestingly, Jesus starts off with the priest when he's talking about the parable, that the priest passes by. What were the priests known for back in that day? They were known for doing the rituals. They did the sacrifices and the rituals for the Jewish people to ensure that they stayed on God's good side. Because, back then it was a fickle kind of God, right? You do good, you're okay. You don't do good, nah, not so good, right? You'll be smited. And then the Levite, he goes to next. The Levite were the lawmakers. They were the ones that told the Jewish people what laws they needed to abide by and how to live their life and what behaviors were considered good Jewish behavior. And yet, did either of those help the Good Samaritan, the pillars of society? No, because what do we know about the parables? They are talking about shifting our consciousness to a higher level, right? Not by the law of the land. Jesus came to usher in a new way of being, of love, of compassion, of oneness. And here we are when we read this book about Billy Fingers, this drug addict who, by all accounts, should be written off, scourge of society, no redeeming qualities whatsoever. And yet when he dies, what happens? He is loved. He is part of the universe. He is embraced. He is seen as a being that has transcended to the point where he doesn't have to reincarnate. And so we look at it from our own society that we have our own concepts about what righteous living is, what it looks like, what is good and bad, that keeps us living these really small lives. These small lives. Well, if I eat right, I exercise right, if I do this and I do the other, I'll have a long life. As if that is our overall goal, when our goal really is about shifting our consciousness, experiencing everything that we can here on this planet. What I want to do is I want to show you a video that kind of has a scientific twist to what we are. And before that, I want to just read this one quote that says, "The same intelligence that grows trees from seeds, that lets birds fly, that waves the ocean and gives birth to new stars. That same intelligence also breathes your breath, beats your heart, and heals your wounds. And when you turn your attention to the limitless, the irritation seems so small when compared to the sun, moon, and stars. When you imagine the infinite, you're touched by your infinite self." Video, please.
The amazing thing is that every atom in your body came from a star that exploded. And the atoms in your left hand probably came from a different star than your right hand.
Can you make it louder?
It really is the most poetic thing I know about physics. You are all stardust. You couldn't be here if stars hadn't exploded, because the elements, the carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, iron, all the things that matter for evolution, weren't created at the beginning of time. They're created in the nuclear furnaces of stars, and the only way they can get into your body is if the stars were kind enough.
When I look up at the night sky, and I know that, yes, we are part of this universe, we are in this universe, but perhaps more important than both of those facts is that the universe is in us. When I reflect on that fact, I look up. Many people feel small because they're small and the universe is big, but I feel big because my atoms came from those stars. There's a level of connectivity. That's really what you want in life. You want to feel connected. You want to feel relevant. You want to feel like you're a participant in the goings-on of activities and events around you. That's precisely what we are, just by being alive.
Once we overcome our fear of being tiny, we find ourselves on the threshold of a vast and awesome universe that utterly dwarfs, in time, in space, and in potential, the tidy anthropocentric proscenium of our ancestors. We gaze across billions of light years of space to view the universe shortly after the Big Bang and plumb the fine structure of matter. We peer down into the core of our planet and the blazing interior of our star. We read the genetic language in which is written the diverse skills and propensities of every being on earth. We uncover hidden chapters in the record of our own origins, and with some anguish, better understand our nature and prospects. We invent and refine agriculture, without which almost all of us would starve to death. We create medicines and vaccines that save the lives of billions. We communicate at the speed of light and whip around the earth in an hour and a half. We have sent dozens of ships to more than 70 worlds and 4 spacecraft to the stars. We are right to rejoice in our accomplishments, to be proud that our species has been able to see so far, and to judge our merit, in part, by the very science that has so deflated our pretensions.
Surface of the Earth is the shore of the cosmic ocean. On this shore, we've learned most of what we know. Recently, we've waded a little way out, maybe ankle deep, and the water seems inviting. Some part of our being knows this is where we came from. We long to return. And we can, because the cosmos is also within us. We're made of star stuff. We are a way for the cosmos to know itself.
We are the stardust. And I love that thing where it said, and we are the way that the cosmos gets to know itself. We are how the cosmos gets to know itself. We forget what we are. Oh my gosh, we are stardust. Everything that is in the universe is within us. We don't deserve to live small lives. A beautiful quote in the book, Billy Fingers. He says this: I am the allness in the nothing in the allness. That's what the divine is. Everything and nothing. I am everything that ever was and ever will be. I am the suffering. I am the grace, I am the truth, I am the play, the player, the scenery, the director, and the audience. And just as a shadow can never be the light, the story I tell can never be the supreme truth. So, how do we claim the truth of what we are? That we are powerful, that we can live large lives, empowering and impacting this community, the community out there, and on and on and on. One of the things that we need to do is look at what we define as our concepts, what we define as something horrible happening to us. Oh, this is bad. Oh, that shouldn't have happened. If we turn our mindset to all that happens to us is for us, for our highest self, for our glory, imagine how large we would live life. We wouldn't be concerned about, well, I shouldn't go down that path because something horrible is going to happen down here. We would just stomp down the paths, empowered, large, because whatever's coming, we know is for us. That's one mind shift. The other is this thing that we do about comparing ourselves to others. You know, your life is so much better than mine. You've had a silver spoon your entire life. I've had to really work hard. We do that. That's an energy leak. That's an energy leak that we do because here's the truth. We can never know what someone's life is. In his book on page 146, he says, you can never measure someone else's state of grace. The only life you can experience intimately is your own. Everything else is just hearsay. Never assume that anyone is fortunate or unfortunate because of the way things appear to be. We need to release our concepts. Release our man-made concepts of what righteous living is. Release our concept of what a relationship should look like. What the behavior is that I should have from my husband. What's the behavior I should be receiving from my wife? Because when we try to force people into what we think life is, what happens? Resistance. What else? I heard the D word. Thank you, Karen. Disappointed. What else? Conflict. Thank you. Yeah. What if we look at each being as they truly are? That they're extraordinary. Each of you is extraordinary. An extraordinary gift. Valuable. More valuable than any precious gem or metal on this planet. We'd be living large again, seeing the beauty. And so what we do is we pay attention to the gifts that we have and the gifts that we receive. When we focus on something, what happens? It expands, right? So I sit here, or I stand here from the pulpit and I go, well, if you focus on lack, you're going to have more lack. And that's a really nice concept, but what does it really mean underneath? It means that there are miracles and gifts and blessings that are happening all the time that we just rush through life and not even acknowledge. Imagine focusing on the gifts that we receive each day, focusing on being alive, and that our bodies function without us really even thinking about it. That's a gift that we get for maybe 80, 90 years. That's a huge gift. The miracles that are happening right now. I'm up here speaking as your minister. What a huge gift. What a miracle. I was not supposed to be living in Kansas City, Lawrence, or anywhere like this. What a gift. And lastly, living a purposeful life is really about just allowing as opposed to imposing our rules on what righteous living is. I'm going to end with this quote. Lana, if you want to come up. How noble is the journey of each human being, from divine to dust and back again. How brave to enter a body and dance the dance of existence, only to lose everything imagined to be true in the moment of death. You're amazing. Know it, be it, walk it.